"Ha!" cried the sheriff in rage. "Is it even so? Am I a yeast with thee, master, as thou callest him? Now I will make a yeast of thee, and a sorry yeast withal, for I will quarter thee limb from limb after thou art hanged." Then he spurred his horse forward and said no more to Studley. At least they came to the great town gate, which Studley saw the fair country beyond, with hills and dales and all clothed in verdure, and far away the dusky line of Sherwood skirts. Then, when he saw the slanting sunlight lying on field and fallow, shining ray here and there on cot and farmhouse, and when he heard the sweet birds singing their vespers, and the sheep braying upon the hillside, and beheld the swallows flying in the bright air, there came a great fullness to his heart, that so all things blurred to his sight those salty tears, and he bowed his head lest to folk should think him unmanly when they saw the tears in his eye. Thus he kept his head bowed till they had passed through the gate and were outside the walls of the town. But when he looked up again, he felt his heart leaped within him, and then he stood still, pure joy, for he saw the face of one of his own dear companions, of Mary Sherwood. Then, glancing quickly around, he saw well-known faces upon all sides of him, crowding closely upon the men-at-arms who were guarding him. Then, all of a sudden, the blood sprang to his cheeks, for he saw for a moment his own good master in the press, and, seeing him, knew that Robin Hood and all his band were there. Yet betwixt him and them was a line of men-at-arms. "Now stand back," cried the sheriff in a mighty voice, for the crowd pressed around on all sides. "What mean ye, velvets, that ye push upon us so? Stand back, I say." Then came a bustle and noise, and one strove to push between the men-at-arms so as to reach the cart, and Studley saw that it was Little John that made all that stir. "Now stand you back," cried one of the men-at-arms, whom Little John pushed with his elbows. "Now stand you back thine own self," quoth Little John, and straightway smote the man a buffet beside his hand that felled him as a butcher felled an ox, and then he leaped to the cart where Studley sat. "I pray thee, take leave of thine friends ere thou diest, Will," quoth he, "or maybe I will die with thee, if I must die, for I could never have better company." Then with one stroke he cut the bonds that bound the other arms and legs, and Studley leaped straight away from the cart. "Now, as I live," cried the sheriff, "yon varlet I know right well is a Studley rebel. Take him, I bid you all, and let him not go." So saying, he spurred his horse upon Little John, and raising in his stirrups smote him with might and main. But Little John ducked quickly underneath the horse belly, and the blow whistled harmlessly over his head. "Nay, good sheriff," cried he, leaping up again when the blow had passed, "I must e'en borrow the most worshipful sword." Thereupon he twitched the weapons deftly from out the sheriff's hand. "Here, Studley," he cried, "the sheriff hath let thee his sword. Back to back with me, man, and defend thyself, for help is nigh." "Down with them," bellowed the sheriff in his voice like an angry bull, and he spurred his horse upon the two whom now stood back to back, forgetting his range that he had no weapon with which he defended himself. "Stand back, sheriff," cried Little John, and even he spoke a battle horn. sounded shrilling, and a cloth-yard shaft whistled within an inch of the sheriff's head. Then came a swaying, hither and thither, and oaths, cries, and groans, and clashing of steel and swords flashed in the setting sun, and a score of arrows whistling through the air. And some cried, "Help, help!" and some, "A rescue, a rescue!" "Treason!" cried the sheriff in a loud voice. "Back, bear back, else we be all dead men." Thereupon he reined his horse backwards through the thickest of the crowd. Now Robin Hood and his band might have slain half of the sheriff's men had they desired to do so, but they let them push out of the press and get them gone, only sending a bush of arrows after them to hurry them in their flight. "Oh, stay!" shouted Will stoutly after the sheriff. "Thou wilt never catch bold Robin Hood, if thou durst not stand to meet him face to face." But the sheriff, bowing along his horse's back, made no answer, but only spurred the faster. Then Will Stoutly turned Little John and looked him in the face till the tears ran down from his eyes, and he wept aloud, and kissing his friend's cheeks, "O Little John," quoth he, "mine own true friend, and he that I love better than man or woman in all the world besides, little did I reckon to see thy face this day, or to meet thee to sight paradise." Little John could make no answer, but wept also. Then Robin Hood gathered his band together in a close rank, with Will Stoutly in the midst, and those they moved slowly upwards the Sherwood, and were gone as a storm cloud moves away from the spot where a tempest had swept the land. But they left 10 of the sheriff's men lying along the ground, wounded, some more, some less, yet no one knew who smoothed them down. Thus the sheriff of Nottingham tried thrice to take Robin Hood, and failed each time, and the last time he was frightened, for he felt how near he had came to losing his life, so he said, "These men fear neither God, nor man, nor king, nor king's officers. I would sooner lose mine office than my life, so I will trouble them no more." So he kept close within his castle for many a day, and dared not show his face outside of his own household, and all the time he was glooming, and would speak to no one. He was ashamed of what had happened that day.